Hi, ThatPaulGuy, and today we're going to do another in the continuing series of building blocks. This is the second in the series, and today we're going to discuss the difference between a CPU and a GPU. Okay, so CPU and GPU. One friend of mine, Clark, has already mentioned that, oh, their difference is only a letter. Well, I'm going to confuse you a little bit further, because this is a CPU. Has a lot of pins on the back. And believe it or not, a GPU looks not too different from this. So what's the difference? Well, first of all, when you look in your computer case or you open something up or you're seeing something on YouTube or pictures of something, they're not going to look like this. They're going to be on a piece of hardware. In this case, this CPU, or a central processing unit, is going to be directly onto the motherboard and usually covered up by a fan. The graphics processor unit, or GPU, will actually be on a card that gets inserted into that same motherboard. Usually it's going to stand up vertically, and although I don't have one in my hands because I'm going to be editing this video, that is actually soldered in to that card that then fits into a slot in your motherboard. And that's made for handling all the graphics. Simply graphics processing unit. Now, why do you need two different things? Well, a central processing unit, you can think of like it does a lot of things pretty well. It's a multitasker. It handles, different types of mathematics. It handles, say, reasoning or artificial intelligence, or just a lot of different things. Think of it like maybe in a math class where you're multiplying and dividing and subtracting and adding, all pretty well, a pretty good student. But what if you've got somebody in that student that's really good at just doing one thing? Well, that's what a graphics processor does. A GPU handles a set of computations over and over and over and over and over again. It's really good at one thing. It makes those mathematical computations and it renders something that will then be on your display. It does this very quickly, and usually the more expensive or the better quality of the graphics card, the better it does this at a higher frequency rate and at a higher resolution. A lot of you now are familiar with a 4K television. Well, you also have 4K monitors for computers. Some of the best graphics cards out handle those types of resolutions. Most of us are usually, we hear 1080p, and that's what the standard is, 1080p at 60 hertz. The 60 hertz means it's the same frequency as what comes out of your wall outlet. It's the same thing that comes out of the outlet in your wall. It's 60 hertz, and so that's what appears on your TV screen, or your monitor that you're doing that. Faster, more powerful graphics cards will be able to double that, and in some cases triple or quadruple that. So you have better graphics cards that will do a very high quality picture very quickly. So in a nutshell, the graphics processing unit helps you be able to put pictures or put images or put movies or whatever onto your monitor. The central processing unit is basically the brain of your computer. If it's into your motherboard, it's usually covered by a fan. In some cases, it'll have a block that's water cooled, and we'll get into that later. But in most cases, I would say a good 75% of the ones that you see, especially in retail, or if you just look at your friend's computer or your own computer, are going to have a fan on top of it. And it is the one that does everything pretty well. So that's probably the easiest way to tell them apart. Graphics processor does one thing extremely well. And the CPU, the central processing unit, does multitude of things pretty well. So you can't have one without the other. There was a time when computer companies and hardware companies were trying to do this, and AMD, a company that produces both CPUs and GPUs, have learned how to combine these two onto one die that fits in your computer, or fits on that motherboard, but your motherboard has to be a little bit different. It has to have a special plug or an HDMI on the motherboard itself. But again, that's few and far between, and they still do have two separate parts. There is a CPU and a GPU that work in tandem with each other. So I hope that kind of clears things up a little bit. Like I said, you can't tell sometimes from just looking at them without actually like reading serial numbers or model numbers on the top of it. But more often than not, you're going to see these already installed in product somewhere. You're going to see it installed on a motherboard, or you're going to see it soldered to a video card that's then inserted to that same motherboard. So, like I said, hope it clears up some of the confusion. If you have any questions, feel free to leave remarks or comments. Thumbs up, thumbs down. As always, you're welcome to hit that red subscribe button. That little bell icon will tell you when these videos are coming back out again. And it's going to be a week from now. I will announce what the subject will be, but I'm not going to be able to post one this coming week in the middle of next week. It will be a week after that, but I will go ahead and have the third in this series when I do that. I will go ahead and post a video this weekend. It's just going to be a regular talking head face-to-face. But until then, folks, I hope that helps a little bit, and I will see you in the next time.